Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. We have the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors as the Seahawks gear up for their first preseason game of 2022 as they take out the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday night. And we received some news this week that the Seahawks have named their starting quarterback for the very first preseason game. That will be Geno Smith. Geno Smith started a few games in fill-in duty for Russell Wilson last year, already knows the system, played under offensive coordinator Shane Waldron last year. And so no surprise that he was named the starting quarterback for this first matchup for the Seahawks. But it really is just the beginning of the quarterback competition with live game action. We'll have more on what we'll see from Geno Smith and Drew Lock in just a moment. But here's what head coach Pete Carroll had to say on Drew Lock, where he stands right now in the quarterback competition. We know that Drew Lock played fairly well in that mock game last week, and Pete Carroll said, yeah, I think it was his most solid performance. He's had a really good days too, but I think that was one of the best under the circumstances. He went with the ones and the twos and all of that. I really liked his poise, his comfort in the pocket, handling stuff, adjustments, calls that he had to make at the line of scrimmage, and all of that he handled really well. So that's what he had to say on Drew Lock nonetheless, and it makes for an interesting situation. Look, Geno Smith last year, he played fine. 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 58% completion percentage, and 702 yards. But now I think the Seahawks are in a position trying to measure whether it's Geno Smith or Drew Lock, which quarterback is going to make the least amount of mistakes. And last year with Geno Smith, you saw him take care of the ball fairly well, that he managed things to an extent. He did what was asked of him. And I think what you're going to look at these next couple of weeks when it comes down to who will win the starting job in Seattle will ultimately come down to who will make the least amount of mistakes, who is going to take care of the football better. And Geno Smith has shown early on that he has the edge for that position. But we'll see when it comes to this live game action. So a question that I have for you guys, your confidence level in Geno Smith at this point. Where would you scale it? How are you feeling about Geno Smith? Let me know in the comment section. Our pinned comment today, scale it 1 through 10. What your confidence level in Geno Smith is, let me know. I'm very curious what Seahawks fans feel about Geno Smith at this point in time heading into this preseason game. Let me know your confidence level in Geno Smith 1 through 10. Now, my confidence level in Geno Smith, it's not very high. I would probably rate it at, in the 4 range of sorts for me. And, look, I get that Geno Smith took care of the football and didn't make too many mistakes when he filled in last year for Russell Wilson. But as far as getting this team to the next level, I see limitations with Geno Smith personally on what he can do on that end. Pete Carroll talked about Geno Smith this week and said, yeah, he's still going with the ones. He'll start the game this weekend, and he's ready to go. He had a very solid day on Tuesday, and he made some big throws. And so that sets up the Seahawks quarterback depth chart like this right now. All reports indicate that Jacob Eason is far behind Geno Smith and Drew Lock, that this is a 2-man battle right now for this starting quarterback job. And as I've said before, and I will reiterate, that the quarterback competition does not really begin until these preseason games get started. The Seahawks are one of the few teams in the NFL where these preseason games matter for their guys competing, for their first-team offense, because it's these preseason games, the live game action, that will separate the haves from the have-nots. And with that, I hope that we get to see Drew Lock get some reps with the ones. I understand completely why we are seeing Geno Smith as the starter for this first preseason game. But let's at least see Drew Lock get an equal opportunity of sorts. We know what he did in that mock game, mostly running with the twos. But if he can get some time in there with the ones, and if we can find a way to equally measure these quarterbacks, let's see what happens at that point. To me, that will be intriguing. That will be fascinating to see if Drew Lock can get that opportunity, if we can fairly measure these guys. I'm predicting that Drew Lock's ultimately going to be the starting quarterback, that he will win this job when it's all said and done. But let's see if he gets a fair opportunity to do so, how he measures up with the ones as opposed to Geno Smith. Seahawks Today is doing some exciting things over the next few weeks throughout the season here on the channel. Watch parties, live shows each and every Wednesday. And, of course, we're covering all the breaking news, rumors, and trades, everything in between. Subscribe now if you have not already. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Turn on your notifications as well so you never miss a moment of Seahawks Today. You'll be glad you did. It is YouTube.com/Seahawks TV to subscribe now so you never miss a moment as we cover this team like no one else will. So DK Metcalf was on the NFL Network this week, and he kind of weighed in on the quarterbacks competition right now. And he took a apolitical stance, I guess you could call it. He said, whoever wins the job, I'm going to be excited for them. That's a good teammate answer there. I know both of them are working their butts off right now. Both of them are studying their butts off. It's going to be a fun competition coming down to the wire. So there you have it from DK Metcalf giving his thoughts on this quarterback competition. And we will see with this preseason game coming up on Saturday night between the Steelers and the Seahawks of where these two kind of stack up. I think it's by far the biggest storyline heading into this game for the Seahawks is this quarterback competition. And to me, that's what I'm so intrigued with, is to see ultimately who's going to take that next step up. In live game action, it's a whole different animal. You take off that red jersey, you can get hit. How are you going to respond to that pressure? Ultimately, we'll find out and see. So, I want to hear from you guys. What are you watching for in the first preseason game? What do you want to see? Not only from the quarterbacks, but from the team as a whole. What are some of the things you are looking for? I'll tell you what I'm looking for, my keys to the game in just a moment. But before we get to that, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments section below. Got a great deal that we are offering Seahawk fans here on Seahawks Today. It is a T-shirt and long sleeve combination with the old school AFC colors as well, and they are on sale for 25% off now at chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. Get yours today while supplies last. You can get yours right in time for football season, whether you want to be out there when things get a little colder or in the heat right now. We got you covered either way with the long sleeve and the short sleeve option at chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. Over 25% off now. So here are my keys to the game for the Seahawks. There's a few things that I'm looking at. One, let the quarterbacks work. You know, I know that the Seahawks are going to be a run-heavy offense, and understandably so for this Seahawks team. But even with that being said, I think your best opportunity to measure these quarterbacks is to let it rip a bit. See what you have in either guy going forward. To me, that's what I'm looking for, is let those guys see what they're capable of at their very best. Let them unleash, and who ultimately looks better, you roll with and move on forward. Let them do their thing. Also, the rookie cornerbacks, they have quite the opportunity on hand. We have talked a lot on this channel about how much Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen have stepped up throughout training camp. The way that those guys have looked so far to this point has impressed everybody, all the way back to minicamp and OTAs. There's some injuries, and now they have a chance to step up and take advantage of this opportunity that's in front of them to potentially even be a week one starter. That's how good they've been. That's the opportunity that's in front of for both of them with the preseason games ahead, in particular this week against Pittsburgh. And then last but not least, stay healthy. No injuries, please. I mean, I think that's the thing that irritates us most about the preseason is ultimately at the end of the day, these games don't mean anything in the win-loss column. You hope that you just come out healthy, that guys get better, that competition goes well, and that you don't get hurt. So, please, avoid the injuries at all costs. Play it safe if you have to on that injury front. Do whatever you can to try to come out as healthy as possible. So we mentioned the rookie cornerbacks, and I want to close out this segment looking at what Corbin Smith from Old Seahawks had to say about the opportunity that these guys have ahead of them. Smith said this: those depth limitations are concerning with the first preseason game only 5 days away, but the absence of Jones and Burns will further benefit Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant, who continue to impress in their first training camp. Of the two, Woolen may be the greatest beneficiary, as he already saw extensive first-team reps at right cornerback in Seattle's mock scrimmage on Saturday and continues to turn heads with his rare speed, length, and size at the position. While Metcalf burned him on a vertical route in team drills, he made a sensational play extending his 33.5-inch arms to break up what would have been a 20-yard completion from Locke to Will Dissly. He went on to say both he and Bryant will have to prove themselves in real game action starting on Saturday, but thanks to the injuries around them, they each have a realistic shot now to force the coaching staff's hand and vie for immediate playing time on defense. So, how about that? A big opportunity ahead for both these guys. Let's see if they take advantage of it here in live game action. So, with that, our wrap-up on the Seahawks-Steelers preseason game looking ahead. If you had to predict the score, it's a preseason game, but if you had to rub that crystal ball, what would be your prediction? How do you see this game ultimately playing out on Saturday night? Let me know in the comments section. Predict the score for the Seahawks-Steelers preseason game. Let me know in the comments section below.